Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday, where we are reckless as always. TGIF. And Kazi's with us. Anan is all over the place. Now we know when it's Ramadan, Anan is going to be out of action, so we can only count on him for
Basically, we need to schedule this better, don't we? Know, and Nan needs to let us know that Ramadan's happening for 6 weeks or something. Then you can tell us. You can put someone else in here.
Yeah, what did he say? He said something like he's going to like a sahur thing, I think, in Canada. So I'm assuming he has to drive back and stuff like that. And that's probably like 3, 4 in the morning. I would think this time of year is like the timing of it. Yeah, like I say, even back in the days when I did do some fasting, I was not getting up at like 3, 4 in the morning to eat. Just eat really late at night and then just try to cruise through 20 hours that way, kind of a deal. But
Yeah.
Ozzy, you're in action. What's happening? You guys had like quite the show last night.
We did, yeah. We had a bit of fun last night.
I'll tell you what, when I watch your guys' show, dude, I feel old in the sense that like I'm old enough to know all these people, but I don't have the memory to remember all these people.
Yeah, I had to kind of break it down trying to explain to our American audience who Neil Ruddock was, the Razor man. Razor Ruddock. I had to kind of break it down about who Neil Ruddock was and what he did and why he epitomed 90s Liverpool. And it was yeah. It's the last time I really want to mention his name. It's about now, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I tuned in. I usually listen to it like later on today as I'm working. I tuned in for a bit yesterday evening, and I was like, "Oh man, like all these people, I remember them, but you guys remember like instances and stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, my memory is not."
You need people who know what they're talking about on this podcast, Tim. That's why I'm here to help.
You need people with memory, dude. You remember some like ridiculous
I know.
instances. Like I don't remember any of this stuff. I mean, I didn't really start following. I mean, I didn't become a fan till '84, and I probably did not start really hardcore following until probably I was at college. We talked about this before, like access to how many games you can watch. Shit, I mean, access to how many games you could watch over there, like in UK, right? So just divide that by 10 for me. So that alone, but it probably was like mid 90s or so, like when I'm in like college and stuff like that. So, but even then, like I don't remember. I mean, this goes for like Fenerbahce when I was a kid too. I mean, there's like one, maybe two like games that I remember as a kid, like listening to it, mind you, not even watching some of these, like listening to it with my brother and stuff like that. But you guys remember like instances and crosses and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't do that like a decade ago, for God's sake.
I can't remember last season. It's all a blur, but it's just like because things happened 5 years ago, I kind of remember them. It feels like when they're so fresh, I can't remember them. But in 5 years, I'll be able to marinate it in my head, and it just.
Hold on, let me put my glasses if it's that close.
It's a bit like yourself. So you started supporting Liverpool in like the mid '90s. So you've seen Razor Ruddock and all his glory, didn't you? You know what I mean?
See, that's the thing. I remember, first of all, like when it's very rare, I think now we have so much freaking access, right? And we watch it every week and we freaking see footage of practice and stuff like that. Everything is a lot more vivid and we almost know maybe like too much. We're like follow it way too closely and stuff like that. I mean, in the past, even when you were following, even when I was there, like, finally getting to watch games and stuff, you see a game and then, like for another week, what was that, teletext? I mean, you get your news from that crap, and that was really it. I mean, you didn't like see footage and he's going to be out and like he might be coming in, he started practicing, like you didn't have any of those. So like a lot of those are like kind of vague memories for me.
It's mad that you say this, right, about like that past era that we missed, because I think we spoke about this before with modern day football and how it's kind of been ruined a little bit because I can see Messi and Ronaldo every week on my phone at any time. But when a World Cup came around, and that's why it's lost its allure a bit. I remember we went into that a few weeks ago. For example, because you were like, I mentioned this last night in the podcast, in the 2002 World Cup, I was 10 years of age, and I've watched the Brazilian Ronaldo, and I've watched that Brazilian team thinking, that's not football. That's not what I'm used. That's from a different planet.
Well, especially how like the English football was at the time.
Exactly. Right? It was Julier's Liverpool. It was Julier's Liverpool, which wasn't entertaining. It was, it was successful and, give me the best season ever had growing up, in effect. But it wasn't entertaining. And then you see Brazilian 02 World Cup, and I was like, are these like the monsters from Space Jam? who just flew over here to
You're
tell
like
us.
watching Harlem Globetrotters, right?
It's
Watching
literally like
Brazil especially.
it felt like a different sport. It felt like a different sport altogether. And I remember like those vivid memories kind of thing. And it's mad that you mentioned that because I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but there's always a famous game in Liverpool which is kind of like spoken of with like Falor. We played Flamengo in the Club World Cup. I think it was like in 81. I think after we won the European Cup. And Flamengo beat us 3-0. And it wasn't advertised. I think it was Zico and players like that, by the way, who played for Flamengo. And it wasn't advertised. And it's been, sorry, it wasn't on TV. So it was just like being like vivid memories of people going, they're the greatest side ever. But it was people who never watched the game were going, no, you don't know what you've just seen. Like, we remember these things. And I'm like, because Liverpool meant to be the best team in the world. We won the European Cup. We win, and then you play Flamengo and you beat you 3-0 and you don't touch the ball. And it's like, it's mad how like these vivid memories come back at games where it's like, did this really happen? Is this a thing? But now with football being so accessible, you can just go back and go, no, they weren't that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But this game was not televised, or it was televised very briefly once, as you said, and then it was like, I missed the game. What happened? We lost 3-0. Yeah. Liverpool don't lose 3-0. What are you talking about? No, we lost 3-0, didn't touch the ball. It's like, no, that
they played, but I remember at the time, what were we talking, like 90s? Like when I first like started really following Liverpool a bit more closely. I mean, football in England was a lot more primitive, if you will. You know what I mean? Like it was like cross the half line, and then, go past the half line and then cross the ball in, like load it into the box kind of a thing. And that's what it was. And then you went and watched like Serie A and stuff like that, where people were a lot more technical. All the better players were there.
Yeah, in the 90s.
So you were like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. That one is not a great. Yeah. And over time, I mean, so basically the quality of football in the last, 20, 30 years has kind of followed the money. Whatever the money is,
that's fair.
Football over there has been better.
That's fair. I think it's more, and I agree with you on the 90s, by the way. That's why most British sides were not winning the European Cup.
Yeah.
Because they were getting beaten in Europe. And then there's a part where the 2000s come along, and then the best managers came into the Premier League, like Mourinho. Of course, Ferguson was still there, Benitez coming, and then there's a Liverpool had that European Cup run, technically, of winning it. I think it was last 16, final, semi-final. Like Liverpool were in it deep. Mourinho wins it, of course, and then Chelsea win it. Then Liverpool have that, and United and Chelsea have that, sustained 10 years. In 06, you forget that Arsenal win the final. So, we had that sustained 10 years of the Premier League of, a team always being in the semis or the final of the thingy. We have the 08 final of United and Chelsea, two Premier League sides playing each other. And then it goes away again. And then it went to the Spanish League with Messi, Neymar, and Suarez winning it. Real Madrid coming in now with Real Madrid. What they're doing, they play Atletico Madrid in the final. Like two La Liga sides kind of thing. And it's then it went to the La Liga. And now it's kind of coming back a little bit with Liverpool going to 3 finals in the last 6 years. City winning it, went to a final. City winning it, Chelsea winning it. People forget that. Yeah. But Chelsea won it a few years ago.
Yeah, right. That guy gets lost in the mix a little bit. But...
Exactly. But it kind of comes through spurts. It kind of comes through little moments. I always think about that late 90s when United won it. I think Dortmund won it in 97. And then Bayern Munich gets the final in 99. They win it in 2000, Bayern, I think. And then
I remember these things. There's no way I would remember these things.
But
no way.
Well, you are right though in terms of how it all switches on itself. It's the early 90s is kind of for AC Milan's the Sacchi area and AC Milan with Baresi and Maldini, and they win it. I think Marseille win it for it's the match fixing, isn't it, and stuff like that, and that kind of stuff. What I'm trying to get at is football just comes in cycles, and it all just comes back around eventually. In the late 70s, early 80s, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest win it twice, Villa win it once. Do you know what I mean? So it's it just comes in spot. It's
funny. Having said that, do you think? I mean, because that was because it did shift, right? But now, and obviously, as it shifts, the money follows, or money goes there first, then it shifts, whichever way you look at it, right? Or based on maybe some of the players of the era, the top players of the era happening to be in that area. So it kind of shifts. But I feel and I don't know, maybe people felt like this. I don't remember. You'll freaking remember this too. But when Serie A was in its heyday, right? Mm-hmm. I can't remember if anybody saw a world where it would not be. It would be the third or fourth or whatever. But has money gone so far on the other side now? That because now I can't imagine the Premier League kind of losing its status, but Is it like what Serie A people were thinking, I don't know, like 20 years ago? Or do
Maybe.
you think it can switch again?
Yeah, I do think it can switch because I think it could switch this season because I've got a feeling that you could see Real Madrid v Barcelona in the final, like of the European Cup, and that is
Yeah,
definitely
but in terms of like the appeal, like even if that happens,
the
right?
Premier League will always have the appeal because of the
Yeah,
drama alone.
but it
But
didn't before. Like, do you
no,
think it will ever go away again, or the money
no,
is so engraved now that it's not going anywhere?
I agree with that. I think the money's so ingrained and the visibility of the Premier League in all different countries that'll never go away. It'll just never. The fan bases will just keep growing and growing and growing. But I think it's always been this balance, hasn't it, where Real Madrid and Barcelona will always compete. That's never going to be a problem. But to win the European Cup, you've got to beat Real Madrid somewhere. You have to beat Real Madrid somewhere to win the European Cup. And it feels like that will always be the target in a weird way. Like, even in 10 years, 15 years, even if Real Madrid are so bad, it feels like you still got to beat them to overcome this giant to win it. When Liverpool won it against Spurs, of course, we had to. You forget that Liverpool's run was okay. We didn't beat Real Madrid, but you beat the German champions, you beat the French champions.
Yes,
I think because you beat PSG, Bayern Munich, we beat Barcelona, who won the league that year as Spanish champions. So Liverpool beat a lot of champions on the way. So you feel like you've got to have those moments in terms of being, no, you can do this. Like, we can do this now in a little way. Like, this is like, it's a bit like Arsenal trying to win the Premier League. Going back to it, like, you feel like you've got to overcome City and Liverpool. Like, you have to, whether you like it or not, I'll
which is
still be
their
very.
frustration. Like it feels like they almost slayed the giants, and then somebody else comes in and
And then
gets
there's someone else comes up because you didn't do the right steps. Where it felt like that's why I always say 18-19 is Liverpool's best ever season. It's not the title winning season. I do, by the way, Liverpool would have won the league by 106 points. Liverpool would have got 106, in my opinion. COVID happened, so it's hard to go. In 18-19, you win the Champions League and get 97 points. That's ridiculous. And win the European. And you're getting told right now, you can't compete on all these fronts. You got 97 points to win the Champions League, lads. And I've just told you to beat all those champions on the way. That's why it's the best team that I've ever seen in terms of Liverpool, at least. And I always feel like there's always that moment in City. For example, this year when Liverpool were trying to win the league, this is a great point, actually. Liverpool went to City and won. And it felt massive. Even though City are bad, it went to Arsenal went there last year and took a draw. And had 25% possession.
And even worse, I think, played for a draw, but that's the conversation for another day, right?
But like, they didn't fancy it. So then City win the league. Even though I know City aren't in a title race, but it still feels big going to City and beating City at City and going, there you go. Liverpool haven't won there, by the way. Won there once in the Champions League in 10 years. And it feels like a massive statement. It's, for example, when Atletico Madrid win it or Barcelona win it, they feel like probably have to go to the Bernabeu and win and go. It feels like, even Madrid could finish fifth. But it still might feel, oh my God, like, wow, we beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu.
I think that shows mentality more than anything else, because that's was, like I gave a lot of crap to like Alan and stuff last year in the panel show, because I felt like that showed mentality. That showed that you were not ready. I mean, going there and playing for a draw, and I get it. Like, it's not a bad result. You don't want to lose. You don't want to have a 6-point shift. But when you go out like that, it was very clear that they were playing for a draw, because that's, it's not like the game turned out that way. They went there for a draw and was very clear. I think it shows mentality that you feel like, I don't even know if we belong here yet, as opposed to going at him and saying, you know what, we're here, we're the guys now, and like take the other guy down, take the giant down, slay him, and then take the spot.
This is the point. And I always feel like that you've got to slay the giant on the way of winning these big things. You've got to go and slay a couple of giants. It's like, even like Arsenal a few weeks ago, they go to United, who were 15th in the league, and they're celebrating an equaliser in the 75th minute when you're 15 points behind the leaders.
I think celebrating the equalizer, we were doing the watch along, and that like stuck out like a sore thumb. I was like, dude, like, what is that? Especially, I remember maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, something similar happened. I think Gakpo maybe scored, still very early in the game, mind you. And like 2-3 guys are celebrating, and Van Dijk is in the background. He's calling everybody like there's nothing to celebrate. And that's, I think, you gotta have that mentality. And when I saw like Declan Rice celebrating, and I was like, yeah, these guys are not ready.
Doing this to the Stretford end when they've won 20 league titles.
Yeah,
just doing this. They've only won a league title literally 10 years. Like 10 years ago, they won a league. They've won like 6 trophies in 10 years, and you're going like this. Calm down. It's the most Arsenal thing ever, isn't it? It's just like, if you would have picked the ball up there, ran back to the corner flank, even the Man United players go, oh fuck, we're in for a whirlwind here. Like, they want this.
Yeah.
When you've shown your hand a little bit, you've shown your hand. I always think that. It's also the mentality of what United think. United think, well, what are they doing? We're 15th, we're garbage. We'll
Yeah,
take it. All right, you want a point? We'll have a point then.
at least we know we're garbage. Like,
We're on the back page every single day of the paper saying how garbage we are. We'll take a point against you. No problem. Crazy.
yeah, I think that showed a lot, and I mean, that's the thing. There's like a progression to it, and that's what I guess like worries me in terms of like next season and stuff like that. But okay, let's get a couple of questions I had. Like I've been like kind
Come
of
on,
like
fella.
having these conversations, so let's bounce it off of you. So first one is, you know how much I like freaking transfer season. And this is like a nightmare. I'm waking up in the middle of the night because I'm like, holy shit, the transfer season could be like 5 months instead of just the regular 2.5, 3 months and stuff. One, I mean, is it too early? And I almost feel guilty in some ways that you have a team out there who has a 12-point lead and running to the title. And I know we had a rough week last week and stuff like that, but if you erase that, and you should, you look at this team, and meanwhile we're in the background. Like it's almost like, like feels like your company is having like the highest profits of all time, and meanwhile like the board is in the background trying to determine who to fire so we can make even more money, kind of thing. We're like, and then we'll sell him, he should be gone, he's not good enough. I almost feel like a little guilty selling people in the background, people having these conversations of he should go, he's not good enough and stuff, in a season where this is happening.
I think there'd be less uncertainty if the 3 contracts were signed. I think we'd feel a lot more comfortable, but because it's not, I just think the uncertainty kind of builds up a little bit. I agree with you though. That's why I keep saying I just want to enjoy the next 12 games, like 9 games, and if all three leave, and we'll have to move on from there. But I want to enjoy Mo Salah while he's here, and I want to enjoy Virgil van Dijk while he's here. And if it is their last season, then deliver us with the big one, and then we can all go from there, kind of thing. But the uncertainty's there.
The conversation is never about them. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, the conversations are not like, oh, we got to sign all. I mean, there's some of that contract conversation, obviously, but I'm more talking about, Robertson and Diaz and,
that's fair.
like other characters that people are kind of. And look, those are conversations to be had, like we've had them, right? What do you want to do? Long-term planning and stuff like that. But I don't know, part of me feels semi-guilty in the background doing transactions with guys that are bringing you a title run like this where you're 12 points ahead.
Completely fair. I think it's fair. I think it's more the fact of I want to try and enjoy the season. I think that's always an issue with winning the league. So you don't get that big day, like a cup final, when you don't get that day because you can win the league at home. You can win the league sitting at home. So we know we've won the league in effect. Like touch wood, of course, 12 points clear. I expect Liverpool to win the league, and you might win the league at home. Like it's not even close. If Liverpool win the league, on the last day,
Chelsea scored, was it William who scored? We're like, exactly, we won.
William scored a pen or something like that, I think, and it was just like, okay. And it was so when you win the league, I always think that like if Liverpool win the league on the last day and there was a lot of jeopardy on the line, I think you'd have less conversations about selling everyone. I think everyone would like, fuck it, everyone focus on this. This is like they need us now. But because it's 12 points clear, it just feels like everyone's a bit, we're just kind of waiting for it. It's not about, it's like when your birthday's coming up and you're going away. It's like, I know what's coming up. I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a lovely party had by all. And I think it's that as well. And that's why, winning the cup, like winning the European Cup always feels bigger because it always feels like, oh my God, you can get knocked out at any time and any defeat kind of thing. And you have that moment of like the final whistle's blew and you've won the European Cup. Liverpool might have that moment when the final whistle blows, you're in a hotel room, or the final whistle blows and you still got 3 games left. And you're like,
but we didn't have these conversations. And I know, like we say, contracts are a big part of it. Like the 3 contracts being out there brings out a lot of conversations. But when we won the title, like, is it almost like we're getting spoiled? And I hate to say that because it's like, it's been like 4 years, 5 years or whatever. Like it was 30 years, like 30 years of like draw, right? Like you want to get the title. It's almost like we didn't care what happens afterwards. Like everybody can just like leave for all we care when we won that title. Like there wasn't any conversation. I don't remember any of us at all talking about, what's going to happen though? What if Real comes in for Saudi or something? Like we didn't have any of those conversations. Whereas now, is it just being spoiled? Like, like we don't feel the same way. We just wanted that title because it hadn't happened. We really wanted it. We didn't care what happened afterwards. Whereas now, I almost get irked that people care more about what happens afterwards than the title itself, which is really odd.
Yeah, I don't feel people like revel in it anymore. It's like just I want to enjoy the moment of when we win the league. I would really want to enjoy that moment and have that little 5 minutes to myself in the boozer, or and the hugs and kisses. I think the part when you go to
I think it's for the
1920.
whole season seems so unfair, like that's what it's
Yeah,
boiling
exactly.
down to. Though.
I think in 1920 though, Phil, I think of course all the contracts were set. It was more we felt like we're the best team in the world. So why would you go anywhere? Really? We just won the European Cup, win the league title, 99 points. It felt like we were the best team anyway. If you want to go, fella, you can only go. It's only a downhill step for me. I feel like this team, I said this last night in the podcast, which is a very efficient football team. It doesn't mean we're a fantastic football team, because I don't think we are. We're just efficient. We just win games, and that's the name of the game, is to win football matches. It doesn't matter how you do it. You're noticing that with Jose Mourinho. It doesn't matter how you do it, fella, as long as you win footy matches. So I feel like now, it also feels like as well, and again, I'm not here talking about the board and the ownership consistently, but because we haven't done anything big, we know there's going to be a big one coming. Do you get what I mean? Like, we know there's going to be a big summer coming anyway. And we didn't do nothing big last year. It's Ancelot's first season. He's done one signing who he clearly hates anyway. So it's like, we know when's the big one. And people get excited for this. I understand what you mean. I just want everyone, whoever leaves in the summer, whoever it is, they all get given the flowers, basically, of what they've done for us. And if it is Andy Robertson who's leaving, then he's the best left back I've ever seen at the club, and you'll go a long way to beat him. You know what I mean? Like, you'll do really well to beat him. If it is Endo leaving, I'll go, what a fucking wonderful buy for 12 million quid.
Yeah.
I seen you die on the pitch in that League Cup final last year for my manager's fucking last ever trophy. You died on that pitch.
Yeah.
I like, you know what I mean? So, if Kostas leaves and Kostas gets all the shit in the world, he scores a winning pen in a FA Cup final. He gets the assist in the League Cup final in a 1-0 win.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Contributed in football matches. So I just feel like we don't give players the credit they deserve while they're here. It's a bit like you don't know what you got till it's gone kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone said Sadio Mane was finished, and I believe he was, because his legs ran off. But my God, when you're watching on Liverpool's left-hand side now, it's like night and day compared to what Sadio Mane was.
It is. I mean, I was watching something the other day on YouTube. I was like, God damn it. And maybe that's what it is. I mean, people were having these conversations, and I watched something the other day, and my instant, like, these two teams are not even close. And I think it is, maybe that's what it is. Like, we're not enjoying it as much. I mean, that's a good point you made there. Like, we were so good. I think we get mad when people say, oh, like, that Liverpool is lucky and all that kind of stuff, because it's well deserved, and then it is well deserved because you're still getting the points. But I think we are looking at this team and we're like, it's not as good as what we had 3-4 years ago, and we know it because it's very recent memory. Like, the front line and like throughout, it doesn't feel as good. Is it the style, or is it really? I mean, to me, the front three is definitely not as good. Even though you have Mo being himself, like, ridiculous levels, but the front three, like with Bobby in the middle and stuff like that, and maybe that's what's hurting more than what Diaz versus Sadio is, or Gakpo versus Sadio is. I think what's really hurting is the character in the middle not being like as efficient and productive and creating for everybody else and all that stuff.
Bobby Firmino to Darwin Núñez, mate, is a fucking lifetime. That's like, they're not even the same species, never mind human beings, like in terms of brain of football. But I mean, again, yes, there is that, but we also didn't give that team the credit for what they were. I'll put that team up against any team in the history of football. I'll put that up and go.
Yes, not this team though, right? Like, the conversation was that team versus this team. Like, somebody was like,
they wouldn't touch the ball.
People were having on WhatsApp, and I watched those highlights. I'm like, man, it's not even close.
They wouldn't touch the ball. This Ancelot team wouldn't touch the ball. They wouldn't get near them. Oh my God, they wouldn't breathe for what we'll do for the press on them. Because honestly, there's no disrespect. Robertson's a few years older, Virgil van Dijk's a few years older. You know what I mean? Everyone says Konate's a great defender. No question, he is a good defender, but I'll have Joe Matip in his pomp. Thank you. I think Joe Matip was so underrated. I'd have Joe Gomez
before stuff to the table, right? Like,
I'd have Gomez before his injury. Everyone forgets how good Gomez was in 18, 19, and 1920, by the way. Everyone forgets how he was unbelievable.
Yeah, remember that was our center back pairing for the next decade at that point.
Jordan Henderson was unbelievable in the title winning season. He gets PFA Player of the Year, Jordan Henderson, in that year. Yeah. That's how much he wanted to win the league. Then you get Gini Wijnaldum and play James Milner off the bench, and then you get the front three. It's just a joke of a team.
Okay, here's the question: out of this midfield, though, would you take any of those guys in there? Like, would you take Szoboszlai in there? or is running in. So that's like the closest guy. Gravenberg did not make that midfield.
The only one who gets close is McAllister. McAllister's the only one who gets close, but I'd still take our title winning of Fabinho, Henderson, and Wijnaldum. Fabinho's the best number 6 in the world, and he was at Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, like this. It's not fair to compare in some ways because it was different styles, right? You know, like do you think Fabinho plays now and fits this?
I think the manager would be smart to do a Fabinho and do 2 number 8s. I think the manager would be smart.
Fabinho, you might as well go get the Fabinho and change the style
and do McAllister and Szoboszlai. Honestly, and then you have that perfect balance behind the forward. You're also taking some pressure off the forward as well, knowing he hasn't just got Szoboszlai running on, he's got McAllister there, so you can take some pressure off the forward. And if you, by the way, if your forward is only going to get you 15 goals a year, then you could do with that extra midfielder. Because by the way, McAllister's really good in front of goal. When you give him a chance, he's actually really good. He's got a nice strike. He's actually really good as a header of the ball. His header in the derby was great.
Yep.
I think he scores a header against Spurs away. I know it's off the line kind of thing, but and McAllister, by the way, plays behind Messi. In alongside and behind Messi.
Has that intelligence to know when to make that run into the box. He's not just we're attacking, let me get into the box. He picks a spot to know when to run in.
But I understand why the manager's doing what he likes to do, because that's his formation and he likes it, and that's fine. But I don't think in certain games having a prime Fabinho and then doing a McAllister and Szoboszlai in your 2 number 8 role wouldn't be a bad way home in a lot of games. I just think for that option, and then also if you want to change it up, you've got your Gravenberch and you can go back to that formation. I wouldn't think that would be a bad option.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, we see what happens sometimes when Endo comes in, stability-wise, when you're protecting a lead and stuff like that. So Fabinho versus Endo, obviously you're getting even more Endo. It's like 2 Endos.
Don't say that to me. 2 Endos? That's fucking like Christmas Day, seeing 2 Endos. Oh, I love an Endo. There's nothing better than an Endo.
Here's the question. Then let me ask you, because since you're praising Endo, and I love the dude. I've said a long time that he doesn't fit the starting 11 in his style and what he can do. But I was asking him to be this role for the last 4 months, and I think manager has finally gotten it. And if he had gotten it a few weeks earlier, I think we talked about this before, we win the Everton game because he comes in to close that one out as well.
Yeah.
But when you're now when you reconstruct and kind of build towards the future, do you get more of the same? Do you have 2 McAllisters, a McAllister 1 and a McAllister 2 on the bench? Or do you want a guy who's totally different on the bench? Because I know maybe a month ago, and this conversation never came about, but I did ask Bickler finally on the Monday show. But there was a game where we got Elliott, Endo, and Nunez come in and kind of turn the entire game and we won. And then the talk was, they're bringing something totally different, right? So, but then you go into other games where you can't rotate because what they're bringing different doesn't necessarily fit what you normally want to do. So is it better to have that variation coming off the bench, or do you want more of what's in the middle of the bench so you can actually rotate and you can start that guy without sacrificing your overall system?
I think it's always good to have something a bit different in reserve, something that a team doesn't expect.
I think forward is different. Let me rephrase that. Let me ask you more for mid, because I think up top you can say, you know what, some pace, or instead of pace, some strength, whatever. You can kind of go at it differently. But midfield and back line, do you want guys more of the same?
It's a great question. I think it's hard because not in the back line, you just want the players who can play the system. Trent's an anomaly, and we'll know about what that is next year if he does leave. The midfield's interesting because I think we need a midfielder, but I don't think we need a 6. I think we need an 8. I think it's Szoboszlai that you need a copy of Szoboszlai. I don't think it's the Gravenberch and McAllister, because I actually like Jones deeper in that role when he comes in and plays that role. I actually like it there. And then Endo can be that guy who can just get your yellow card and win you the book and break the game down. Those 4 will be fine, but you've got to trust the other 2. You've still got to trust Endo to start a couple of football matches. I said this a few weeks ago. You don't think Endo is okay? He might not fit your style, but he can start against Southampton at home. Let's not you can get away with it. I like Liverpool struggling in the game, whatever. But Liverpool look absolutely fucked in the game. By the way, we look tired, and then we get beat by PSG, and then where we are now. We would ask for more rotation. The manager is no rotation here. We're winning this league, and I get that argument as well. By the way, manager's completely in the right. But I just think that for certain games, he's the bottom 6 at home. You could do an Endo. I don't think it's the end of the world to play 2 number 8s and play Endo on his own in a 6. I just don't against the bottom 6. But you've got to trust those players to do it. I think if it's based on next season, Tim, right? I'd keep the 4 they are, but I'd have a Szoboszlai replacement because he's the only one we can't replace. He's 6'4" and runs 15k a game. Go and find me someone. Like then you can't bring Harvey Elliott in and go, you're going to do the same as him. He's going, you what? Right, by the way, Harvey Elliott's been tremendous, by the way, since he's come in. I thought he was great in the cup final as well. His pass to Kies is a joke. It's an unbelievable pass. I thought he was one of the ones in the cup final who looked really good because he was just firing the ball quick and early. So Elliott's always an option, but you've got to trust Elliott then. You know what I mean? But if it's based on next season, I would go and sign a big number 8, like who you like. If that's what you like, because this is the other part of this, Tim. We don't know what the manager wants.
Yes.
We have no idea. The manager just might say, I'm playing this formation, lads, because that was the lads I had. And then
he can be just like, this gets the most out of everybody. Even like what he's done with Trent and stuff, he's talked about it. Like, this is what gets out of the most out of everybody. Once we get our people, maybe we'll change things around.
Exactly. And he might come in next year and he might go and fucking sign, I don't know, the second coming of Rodri. And then he is playing 2 number 8s and we all go, fucking hell, Liverpool look great on the attack. Do you know what I mean? And, it's just, we just don't know. So that's why it's so difficult when people, I don't like the comment when people go, well, he's not really an iron slot player. And you're like, what's an iron slot player, fella? Because I don't know. Because right now, the one player who he signed, he doesn't like him, so he's not an iron slot player. So
no. Like we signed 2 guys under him. One guy never plays. One guy's not even here.
Exactly.
But is it because here's what I'm thinking. With that midfield, like going back to the conversation of when we were comparing the squads, if you have the front 3 of, I mean, we're talking about how explosive that team was, and you had a blue-collar midfield behind them, which people always bitch and moan that, the midfield was too blue-collar. They didn't create or anything like that. But you had a front 3 that could just, you'd be like, here you guys go. We won the ball for you. Go knock yourselves out. And they took care of business. If you had a front 3 that was a bit more efficient, this team would be flying as well, because I think this midfield provides a lot more to worry about for a defender, because you have that Szoboszlai, you have McAllister who can make those runs suddenly, whereas you rarely saw like Genie make as many runs. I mean, he had his goals here and there and stuff like that, but in terms of making those runs to threaten a defense, so is it just taking care of the front, mainly the middle, that should be the main concern? Well, if I give you one transfer to do, what do you address?
If they all stayed, the other lads as well, I would sign number 9.
Right? Because that's what I feel. I feel like if you fix that,
or to be honest, I'd sign Anthony Gordon because he can play left wing and striker, and he can do both. And I want a lad who can do both. If you just give me one, all the other lads are staying. Get me Anthony Gordon, because I need someone who can do both.
Damn, you didn't even name a position. You named a player, really?
I named the player because it's hard to find a left winger who can play striker as well. They're hard to find. They're not as easy. I like João Pedro, but it doesn't get enough goals. He just doesn't get enough goals. And you know what I mean? I like Minter out of Brighton on the right wing. Doesn't get enough goals. And that's my argument with Diaz all the time. Diaz has scored like 9 goals this season in the league, which is fine in 20 years.
What a beauty yesterday.
Yeah, I've never seen him score that type of goal for Liverpool.
No, like I was like, so you can keep it on the ground. Like
you can keep it on the ground. You can cut inside and strike first time. Instead of cut inside, do a step over, try and beat the man again. Do a left foot cross over Salah's
the guy you just beat on your way into the box. Beat him.
Don't. I seen the goal. I was angry that he scored that type of goal. I was angry.
I'm like, oh, so you can keep it on the ground then.
You can do that then. You can just do what Cody Gakpo does. Gets the ball, cuts inside and shoots dead hard, low and hard, and scores. Like, just do that.
Like, he's done that, but he's always tried the high to the top right corner. I've never seen him
slow it
on the ground, a shot like that, like a controlled shot. I was like, wait, what? Like,
don't. Honestly, I was looking at the phone yesterday on Twitter when it came over. I was like,
that's funny because I felt the same way. Like it was like everybody's like, "Oh, Diaz scored a beauty," and I'm watching. And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like you can do this? Like why are we not seeing more of this?" Like,
I thought you were gonna do. Before you're going to do 2 step overs, beat the man again, cross it on your left foot over Salah's head out for a throw in. But that's what you were going to do. But
I mean, honestly, early in the season, he was the guy that we were hoping that he would be. Yeah. But then kind of like reverted back. And I think you talked about this, maybe like played him out of form
Yeah.
shifting him to the middle. And honestly, that's why I'm always like very try to defend Diaz all the
Yeah,
time,
I
because
know.
I feel like it's the guy. Gakpo couldn't go to the middle, so he went to the middle
I know.
and kind of played himself out of form,
And
even
then
though
Gakpo
like
played his way into form. That's the other part.
yes,
Gakpo played his way on the left. So Gakpo took his position and went, I'm great now. Like I've got I'm at home here. So there's that. I get, and that's a fair point. I just think sometimes, Tim, with him, and again, I can forgive him sometimes. He scored 9 in the league, which seems okay in 28 games, right? He scored 9, but he's only scored in 6 games because he's had 3 doubles.
I think he goes like, he'll be hot like 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then he goes quiet for like 5 to 6. When we first started the experiment, remember that was the Leverkusen game. He gets the hat trick. And I remember even talking about like this is an easy sell for him now. Like, hey man, you're the guy in the middle. Gakpo takes your spot on the left wing. This is working great, kind of a deal. And then he was rolling out and then kind of like went away. And I almost feel like it's a guy that gets look as a winger, it's a different mentality like than the guy in the middle, right? Like you're trying to pop more in the middle, whereas the winger, you're kind of creating yourself some space and you want the ball to do something with it. I almost feel like transition is difficult for a winger to go to the middle because you don't feel as involved as you were in the past.
I agree with that. I couldn't agree more. I think there's sometimes as well with you do get those strikers who like to go over to the left to try and create space, but sometimes, especially when you wing it, you can't have that. And if Szoboszlai is not going to make that run up behind you, you can't go left wing because you've got no one in the middle. Szoboszlai has to make that run then. That's where the communication element comes in. If Diaz goes, I'm going to drift over here for 5 to try and pick up the ball, any chance you can just stand there when we got it. Do you know what I mean? And then that that can help. But my Diaz case is always, he just does his stats aren't enough for me, his numbers aren't enough. So I'll give you some insight here, Tim, on him, right? In the first 5 games, he scores 5 in the league. So in the last 23 games, 24 games, he scored 4. And 2.
He's the one who's played, like he hasn't been injured or anything, whereas the other ones have come in and out.
One game he doesn't play was the 3-1 on Boxing Day at Ipswich. Sorry, Leicester at home. He doesn't get on the pitch. He's on the bench. Liverpool win 3-1. It's because he scores 2 against the Spurs away, 6-3. He scores 2. Yep. And then he scores against West Ham away in a 5-0. And then he scored against Wolves at home in a 2-1 a few weeks ago, which is a big goal because it's like a 2-1 win. That's a good goal. I always say this, what goals are you scoring? I always think about that as well. Because I always have some players have the Lukaku syndrome. And let me paraphrase what I'm saying here, right, a little bit.
Like a bad first touch? What do you mean? Like
nah, man. Lukaku will beat the bottom 10 twice. He'll beat the bottom 10 twice. You won't get your goals against United away. You won't get your goals at Anfield. But his argument is, I'll beat the bottom 10 twice. So his argument is, I'll get you 60 points. Can you get the other lads to get you 25? Get me 20. If the other lads can get you 25 to 30, you win the league. Because I've got 60 for you in my pocket. I'll get you 60 points. That's the Lukaku syndrome. And I always think about that. Like, what goal are you scoring? Are you scoring the last goal in a 5-0 win? Or are you scoring the first goal in a football match? Where I think Gakpo's goals this year, and I'll have to check it in a second, have been a lot of 1-0s or equalisers or 2-1s, like winners and big goals at home. They're the type of goals I need out of my strikers. They're the ones when you took it on your back yourself and went.
He was giving you that early in the season, like the goal against Bournemouth, United away, and stuff like that. He was giving those early in the season.
In the first 5 games. That's my point. They're in the first 5 games, and it's not. I just don't think he gets enough, Tim. I need more stats out of him. The manager's called out players previously. For example, he called out Szoboszlai. I said he doesn't get enough goals.
Or numbers, yeah.
And then he goes to AC Milan away and scores. Like literally the day after. He literally goes to AC Milan away and scores. So my argument is for him is the manager's already called out players for not getting the stats. And by the way, for these new lads coming back into the mix now, like Michael Edwards and stuff, they are stats based. They are stats based. But do you get these numbers? No. You're not for me then. You can look great on the eye all you like, but there's no end product. And that's what I'm saying. I think a left winger at Liverpool, Tim, with how much we have the ball in terms of possession and stuff like that, and the chances created, you should be getting a minimum of 12 goals in the league. And I'm talking scoring in 10 games. You should be scoring 1 in 3, 1 in 3.5 games. Like that's like that's not a lot. I think that's the bare minimum. You should be scoring 1 in every 3.5. And he doesn't do that.
Like the goals that Gakpo gets, I would like Diaz to get more, where Mo gets the ball on the right hand side and Gakpo pops up on the back post. like for a tap in or like, I mean, he scored, I can think of at least 3 or 4 this season where he makes that run to the back post and just like taps balls in kind of a thing. And I mean, maybe that's why I always felt, even last year we were talking about it, Gakpo versus Nunez and stuff like that, that he would be like more suited for that 9, but he does not like that 9. He wants the ball on the left. And he's, to be fair, he has been more productive. So if you said, well, who earns it, probably out of production wise. The only thing with Gakpo, and I've said this like last week too, there is no happy medium with Gakpo. And I think that's the only thing I don't like about him. He's either like giving, and then like Hassan says, I don't know if you saw that goal, but that's like a first time shot. That's a Gakpo goal right there, like a confident shot, taking it. But the thing with Gakpo that always worries me is he's either like a 7, 8 out of 10, or he's 3. Because he's like not in the game, especially when he comes off the bench. It's like very like he does not run and stuff. What you get from Diaz is you might not get the production, but I think you get more consistent. But so you might get Diaz a ton of 6 out of 10 performances, with a couple of 7 here and there, but you never get a 3 because he's still gonna give you the effort plays, like running a play down, winning a corner, or what I mean, like those things.
No, it's fair.
He does more consistently than Gakpo.
And that's complete. I think that's fair. I think it's a thing with Gakpo as well. He's one of those players who feels like he takes a while to get going. He has like great second halves. I always feel like he has like a good second half. Maybe that's incorrect. Maybe that's just my thinking in my head sometimes, where he takes like 20 minutes to get going in a game, to get warmed up. I always feel like sometimes as well he takes like an extra touch. He looks a bit slower. But as long as your stats are there, like I always say this about Sadio. I know it's always a big Sadio thing, but he doesn't look easy on the eye. But his stats are there, his numbers are there. He didn't look. He had a weird first touch. His eye, like he'd have games where you're like, my God, like he can't take a touch of the ball here. You can't fizz the ball into him. But he'll score, and his stats are there. And that's the Salah argument. Salah's out the game today, then bang, scores, and you're like, huh? He hasn't touched the ball. You know what I mean? That Everton away are a great example this year. Everton away is a great example. So everyone told me Salah was garbage, like he scored and got an assist. We drew 2-2. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just pulled up Gakpo's stats here, mate. So, Gakpo's only scored 8 in the league. So, he's 1 less than Diaz. But he's scored in 7 games. And he hasn't had the same amount of minutes as Diaz. Now, the games he scored in, he scored a goal in a 2-1 win at home. Wins the points, basically, because he scores in that game. Birmingham beat City 2-0. Scores. Massive game of football. Stepped up and scored. Fulham at home 2-2 when we were down to 10. We came up and behind. Scores. Brilliant goal. Leicester 3-1 at home. We were behind in the game, if you remember correctly. Jordan Ayew scores first in the first 10. By the way, he gets a goal and an assist in that game. So, wins you the game, in effect. He scores in the West Ham 5-0. Don't care. Not interested in 5-0 win goals. And he scores against United at home in the 2-2. Like, so he's won your points. And like, I'm not saying Diaz didn't do that in his first 5. I'm just saying his last 4 goals in the league haven't really been ones where it's the first goal in a game, apart from the Wolves game a few weeks ago. But he scores. The Wolves game, he scores a big goal.
Is that the one that like kind of like was the ugliest goal, but it's a goal?
Just goes in, it just hits his chest and goes in. Kind of thing, but it's his goal, and I've got to give him credit. And he scored, by the way. Gakpo gets 2 against Ipswich at home to win 4-1, whatever. But you know what I mean. So. All I'm saying is I always think about those type of goals. Are you scoring the first goal? Are you scoring big, important goals? Or are you scoring the 4th and the 5th? I think that's how Liverpool should be judging goal scorers. I don't care if you score 4th and 5th. I need you to break the deadlock in games because they're going to be putting 10 men behind the ball. We've got 75% of possession. I need you to...
Those games, I want, Elliot's coming in and getting the 4th and 5th and stuff. Like, that's all like, you know what I mean? That's like, should be just the icing on the cake kind of a deal. But I'm torn on Diaz, man, because I see the efforts and I feel like I know, aside from the fact that he can get you probably a lot of money to use towards other, because he'll get interest. Let's put it that way, right? So, like, I'm okay with that, but like, if I'm trying to, like, one of these guys making a list of players to improve on, like, nowhere near the priority, like touching the left wing where you're strong. Like, we got other fish to fry. But if somebody comes in and gives you over what you would normally take, then you're like, I guess.
I think you get 60 to 70 million from him. He's 27.
Probably.
And like, I still think, and by the way, he is a match of the day player. And what I mean by that is like he'll look great in highlights. He's fantastic in highlights. He looks like a great in a compilation, but he's not. He's just not that type of player. So I agree with you. I think there's just too much work to do on the other areas of the pitch to focus on left wing. But if Barcelona do come in and throw you the 65, 70 million pound bidding, then you can go, shall we just fucking chance Anthony Gordon's arm here? Do you know what I mean? And then let's correct as well. Anthony Gordon was doing the medical at Liverpool. He was doing the medical in the training camp, and Joe Gomez was going the other way to Newcastle. That was happening.
What is his release?
Well, he signed a new contract this season.
Yeah, what is the new release?
There's no release, but they reckon there's a champion, like there's a Liverpool release clause. That's always been the big rumor. Like he wouldn't have signed.
Style?
Do you know what I mean? So it's probably around the 70 million mark, and like probably the same kind of money. Because if Anthony Gordon signed £100 million release for Liverpool, and that's ridiculous, that Liverpool would never do it. But at the time in the summer, Newcastle needed the money, didn't they? So they were going to do him for 60, 70. I can see that happening again a little bit, where they go 60 to 70 million quid kind of thing. And I would swap Anthony Gordon for that Luis Diaz in a heartbeat.
What happens with Isak, though, isn't it? Like, if they sell Isak now, one, they're not going to need money. They're not going to sell Gordon as well,
unless he has that clause in his contract where they haven't got a choice in the matter.
That's true, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the Isak one's hard as well, because I do Isak in a heartbeat. I think there's a strong argument sometimes for teams when you're going through a rebuild, just to sign the best striker that you can, and then just getting some lads in. I genuinely think that sometimes you can just the best striker can just get you over the line. Mo Salah's winning Liverpool.
Like how big of a rebuild you're doing too, I guess. But yeah, I agree. At least somebody who gets you, even when you're not doing anything in the game, somebody who wins you points along the way by just being himself.
So for people who don't know, I sent you over the stat today in our Discord. Liverpool will be third. No, sorry. Liverpool will be third this season with just Mo Salah goals and assists. They will be third in the league. That is absolutely absurd.
That is kind of crazy. Hold on, let me pull that up over here, because I know
because that's what, you know, and this startup kind of proved me up a little bit, proved me point a bit. Sometimes goals and assists are just everything. It's literally just everything. Like, that is an absolute joke.
That's crazy.
That is ridiculous.
I don't know how this is calculated, mind you. I'm assuming it's going back to what we were doing just now with Gakpo and Diaz and stuff, right?
Well, listen, but also, gents, this is the life without Liverpool. This is what the life could be without Mo Salah's goals and assists. By the way, this is what Liverpool have looked forward to, unless you go and find more goals and assists from somewhere. And by the way, they're really hard to find, because everyone wants goals and assists in their team. Everyone wants these stats and numbers, but that stat is absurd. And sometimes when I talk about rebuild and stuff like that, that's why sometimes it's just so important to have a lad who can score and just go, while we're figuring this part out, can you just score and we'll worry about this? As long as you do your job. It's a bit like when teams go down and they have a player who gets 15, 20 goals. Yeah, they're not good enough, but he's good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, these lads are still doing the rebuild. These lads are figuring it out, but he's good enough to win the game on his own.
Yeah, and, you know, even if you're leaking a goal in the back, he can get it back for you on the other side and stuff like that. He can just get
game too, kind of.
Does the injury record not concern you on Isak?
No, I don't think it's as bad as what people think. When you actually look at this year, he's missed 9 games this year. 7 of them with a broken toe, which you can't really, you know, it's a broken toe.
Last year, I think, is the year where he misses.
Last year, he misses. It's not as many. It's like 18 or something like that. I think. I can't remember. We have to pull it up. I did have a good look at his stats. Let me find it now.
I looked at it. I think we were talking about in one of the shows, and it looked like he was out, and it almost looked like they brought him back early, to be honest with you, is what it looked like when you looked at it.
This is the point as well. Like, I keep getting told that, you know, young lads are growing into the body and they get muscle injury. That's what I get told all the time, right, about players. Yeah. And then when it comes to Liverpool signing a football player, that doesn't happen. By the way, in the last 2 years, so he was out for a couple of groin injuries. He missed 12 games, including the international game last year, the groin injury. So it looks like he comes back on November the 24th and he gets injured again at the end of January. So I don't know if he has to play for Newcastle because he's the best player.
Yeah.
And Liverpool can go, we can manage your minutes more, and Liverpool fancy doing that. I think this year, he was out for a groin injury against Liverpool, even though Eddie Howe said he could have definitely played, and I just didn't want to show my hand. He's already said that doesn't count. So he's technically out for 1 game in January, a hamstring, because the broken toe you can't really suffice for. And don't forget, because of his age, he was like 22, 23 when all these like bad injuries happened, and I keep getting told.
What is he now? 26? Is that what it is?
Isak is now 25.
Okay.
So his injuries, his injuries come when he's like 22, 21, 22. And again, I keep getting told all the time that young players get muscle injuries because I look at Conor Bradley's injury record and it's absolutely awful.
It is
And
kind of awful. Let's hope that's not like a theme, because that does worry me about like the right. By the way, watched. I mean, Turkey take on Hungary yesterday. Turkey played amazingly well. By the way, this is like the best I've seen. I have no Arda. So they beat Turkey. Actually, Turkey won the game 3-1. But got to see Szoboszlai and Kerkez.
Okay.
And man, Kerkez put in that ball. What was that Spurs game?
Oh, mate.
That ball that he put in, he did that like 3 times. He just doesn't have the same quality in the middle to finish.
Yeah.
But he did that like 3 times yesterday. He definitely does look the player. And man, I don't know, like, I don't know about you. I'm a kind of a big fan of like what we used to do with Southampton and stuff like that, and go raid a team and get like 2-3 players at the same time. Go dump like 100, 120 or whatever to Bournemouth. Get the Spanish kids in the back. Well, Dutch and Spanish, now Spanish somehow. And then get Carquez and like maybe like Semenyo, and call it a day. Like just put him in a you don't even need a van. Just get a 4-door, put them all and drive them back.
It's so hard to talk about transfers because we don't know what's happening with the other 3.
Yeah.
Because, and by the way,
I think Kerkez, for example, is a no-brainer, right?
I agree. I think Andy Robertson's been fantastic, by the way, the last 6 weeks, and we should really that doesn't deserve to be on the losing side in most games in the last few weeks. But yeah, it feels like Kerkez is the one. But there's an argument there. Well, at least Richard Hughes knows what the contract is. Like he knows that there's a buyout clause. He knows how much he's on. He knows what it'll take for
like they want 40 for him or something like that.
Yeah, they signed him for like fucking 8 million quid or something.
Yeah.
And this is again, Tim, we've spoken about this all the time. I spoke this yesterday on the Thursday, but you don't. Everyone goes to me. A rebuild's going to cost a lot of money, and I agree, it still will cost a lot of money. But it doesn't have to be like eight 40 million pound players. It doesn't need to be that.
The only concern with that is, what happens when he might say, Hughes might be like, oh, I got Kerkez. I had another 3 Kerkezes in my back pockets. I picked Kerkez at the time, but I had another 3 Kerkezes, that I had in mind. And he might bring, but how the fans will see an $8 million guy come and say, FSG is not spending the money, we're going cheap, we're going to suck, and we're going to deal with that.
Well, the fans can get over that then. I've always been my thing on FSG. Like, I don't care. Like, but my state on FSG, right? It's not about the money, it's about don't leave me short. I don't care who you sign. I say this all the time. Liverpool go and sell Darwin Núñez this summer for 70-80 million to Saudi, and Liverpool picked up Jonathan David on a free. Do I care? Yeah. No. Do I care if Liverpool let Trent go and go, we're just going to do Aina out of Forest on a free for 3? By the way, really, really, really good fullback, by the way. At 20, and go, he's ready to suit right now for Liverpool. No, I don't care. Liverpool have let Jota go, but they signed Angel Gomez on a free. Okay, he looks like he's an England international, looks like a tardy, it's on a free transfer. So, by the way, I'm not just saying Liverpool just going to shop in the free market here, but I'm trying to put a bit of thing into step a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example,
just don't look at the bottom line of like the transaction, how much you spent. It's just like, what are you getting in? Because I feel like that might be a case with Hughes and say, I'm the one who found this guy and I got him for 8. I had like 2 other guys I was looking at 8 million. We'll just go get one of these guys. Why spend 40?
And then again, I don't care about how much you spend on a football player. I don't. But you don't leave me short in a position. That's always been my case and my line in the sand on this kind of shit. I feel like Liverpool have been left short of centre mid this year. I do feel like we've been left. By the way, the club feel like that because they tried to sign Zubimendi. Yeah. So the club feel like, do you know what I mean? So the club know they were going in.
You like that though, where they're like, it's a guy we want or it's nobody. We're not gonna get a patch.
No, that's a great question. I think I would have liked it in the summer if you would have told me that Endo wouldn't be playing that many games, then no, I wouldn't have liked it. Do you get what I'm saying? If you would have said to me in the summer, listen, lads, we're going to draw a line in the sand. It's Zubimendi or no one. We've got to line up someone for next year. I would have went, okay, because you've got Endo there, and Endo will probably play 15, 20 games, but he hasn't played 15, 20. That's my
maybe
point.
That's what they thought in the summer. Then they're like, yeah, that's the ball with his back.
Like, then that's going to be naive, then, isn't it? A little bit. That's probably a bit naive to think. Do you know what I mean? Like that can happen. So I'm a bit. Yes, I don't mind them holding, but you can't just keep holding and holding and holding. But I will say this, and I'll give the board the benefit. They've tried to sign a number 6 for 5 years.
Yeah.
Chouameni.
For big money, too.
Caicedo, Lavia. I know Caicedo and Lavia were not Michael Edwards signings, and that should be very much precedent for this summer when we ever go, well, you were going to spend 110 million on Caicedo. No, Michael Edwards is not spending 110 million on Caicedo. He was not in the door when that bid went through the door. Let's get that correct. It was my little crazy German fella sitting in Ibiza smoking cigarettes. Not my money, pal.
Why not?
Why not? We'll have him as well. We'll have him. By the way, which has worked out brilliantly because we've rebuilt the whole midfield and they're all great based on that lad's summer. So we should give him his credit. But again, I just think sometimes that we always get focused on the figure and not actually what the squad needs. If Liverpool tell me, hey, in the summer we're going to do Costas for 10 million, he's going somewhere for 10 million quid, and we're doing Tyreek Mitchell out of Palace on a free at 25. Even if Liverpool just do Tyreek Mitchell and not Kirkes and go, he's going to be our starting left back next year. I'd go for 25. Yeah, he's ready to go. Let's go. He's great to pop in. You know what I mean? He's a free transfer. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's like, I just feel like sometimes we focus too much on the start and not actually what Liverpool need of the price. And if Liverpool go out and do a couple of really shrewd bits of business, then I'm completely fine with it.
I think a lot of what you're really paying for is risk elimination, right? Like if he had, like I say, like he's the one who found Kirkes. Where the hell did even Kirkes come from? Do you know?
Hungry, innit?
I mean, he's Hungarian, but I don't know.
Was it Juve? No, Heisen come from Juve, didn't he? Heisen come from Juve.
He was playing in Netherlands. He was in AC Milan, but he never played for AC Milan. They bounced him like to AZ. I mean, is that
AZ
Alkmaar? Yes, it is Alkmaar. So he was in Netherlands playing there, and then that's where they got Bournemouth. I think what you're paying for when you pay for the 40 for Kirkes as opposed to another Kirkes he has in Netherlands is the risk of, is he going to adjust to the Premier League from the Dutch league? Basically, the difference in 30 million covers your risk more than anything else. But we know Hughes, he will not pay, I don't think, 30 million, for example, for that risk. If Hughes is another guy lined up over there that can do the job the same way. And that's probably why he uses the guy in the first place. And honestly, I'm kind of like, I look at Bournemouth and I'm like, okay, I like the resume. So let's see what else you got, kind of a thing.
I think there's a part here, fella, right? If Liverpool just did, and I'm a Kirkes fan, but if Liverpool just did in the summer, Jonathan David, Tyreek Mitchell, both on frees, and then once they got 4 or 5 players, like signings, like I'll be ready to go with that. I'll be like, yeah, Jonathan David's a great number 9.
You do have Robertson. Like, you know what I mean? You have Robertson.
Year at least.
You just want him to play once a week is my thing.
For another year at least, because Robertson's only got a year left on his deal. But that's another part of the conversation, don't Tim? I've had enough of players leaving on a fucking free. I said this to you a few weeks ago. I've had enough of the sentiment. Like, I love Andy Robertson, one of the best left backs to play for our club. But lad, you got a year left on your deal. If this is business, are you signing or not? Do you want him to sign or not? If it's not, then I'd rather you just try and sell him and just do Lamptey on it.
What would you get for? That's why I'm pulling up.
I think you'd easily get 15 to 20 million still.
Transfer market has them as 20, so you can probably get because of.
I also think as well. You sit down with Robertson and go, Celtic can't afford you, but we've got this off. For example, Kyle Walker's into AC Milan.
Yeah,
you're still going to go and play. Do you want to go and play? Do you want to go and chance your arm abroad and go and play for a massive club abroad? And still play in the Champions League and still be like a main man at like AC Milan.
You can always come back to Celtic when you're 34.
Exactly, and because I always think he should. I know I'm deciding Andy Robertson's career, and he'll probably laugh at that, but I'd love him to finish at Celtic because he has unfinished business there. He got released there, and he's a Celtic fan. I'd love him to finish at Celtic. You know what I mean? But I just feel like I've had enough of this sentiment, Tim. I want to stop having sentiment. I love these lads. These lads are going to deliver us the league final. But there's no sentiment anymore. We're losing fucking arse over tit on money because Liverpool have shown too much sentiment before. I said this to you, and it's controversial. I'll sell Konate in the summer. I've had enough of you. You're not hardballing us. It's sign a contract now because we know what's happened to these 3 and we're not making the same mistake again. You're going now if you don't sign this contract.
How much are you selling Konate for?
If he has a year left on his deal, 45, 50 million. A year left.
I would think easy, right?
He's got a year left, Tim. He can go and negotiate in January.
Value 60 right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the year left kills you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's the problem. Again, we said this before about the previous contracts on various podcasts. Signing the contracts for these lads doesn't just get you the player, it gets you time. It buys time. Liverpool need all the time that he can do to get the right lads in to replace these lads and go. We've got 2 years now, or at least another year to focus on it. You go to Mo Salah, hey, lad, you only got 12 goals last year, a few injuries picking up. You still got a year left on your deal. We've accepted a bid from Saudi Arabia for 60 million. And you protected your investment. You protected your investment. That's what Trent offers you. People might go, Trent isn't an iron slot player. First of all, we don't know that. And number two, he might go in 18 months. If Trent signs a 5-year deal, hey, we've accepted the bid from Real Madrid. 27 now, 80 million quid. You didn't work out for us. And protect your investment. That's what Konate now is. You're 25. You're coming to prime time.
But yeah, like I say, I don't want to get into the why we ended up where we ended up. And nothing was going to happen over the last 6 months. I think that was
the point is, though, with Konate, though, it's the same argument, isn't it? You've got to protect your investment and go, right now, you're valuable to us in the market in the summer, but you're not valuable to us in January in the market. Liverpool, it's mad as well, this in terms of the contracts as well. If Liverpool is sitting 7th this year, we would have sold them in the summer. We would have said to Virgil Sal in the summer.
Yeah, and that's what scares me in some ways.
January?
If we're going for a full-blown
If Liverpool are 7th, let me ask you a question. Liverpool are 7th, they would have accepted that bid for Trent in January, wouldn't
they? Yeah, why not? What do you got to lose?
Well, exactly. We're doing a rebuild anyway. They're offering us 50 million now. I know you're for 100, but you've got fucking 6 months left. We'll take you to all day. But Liverpool were going for 4 trophies at the time, so Liverpool couldn't do it. It's like the Darwin Núñez. Liverpool would have accepted that bid from Saudi.
I think so as well.
And they would have just took the dough. So right now, you don't want to get into a position with Konate, like you've got into a position now. If he doesn't sign a new contract, and in January Liverpool are going for the league and the Champions League, and you go, you can't lose Konate. No, we're going to win these trophies. Yeah. Avoid that conversation and just do the job in the summer. Don't bottle it and go and get a centre half.
I feel like his will be done because since they are already talking to him, like 4 months ago, they were already talking to him. Of course, we don't know what he's asking for. That's another thing. And you might be right. I mean, if I'm Konate, I want to see if Van Dijk is sticking around as well. You know what I mean? Because that kind of extends my career and makes me look good. So I would wait to see what Van Dijk is doing. Who's staying over here, kind of a deal. So
I was the captain of France when I was starting alongside centre half with him. And by the way, being the captain of France, fella, you could have the chance to win the World Cup and the Euros every single time you enter it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's making me. I always say this. I think he's a bridesmaid. And I know you're like, I'd love to find out. I just think he is a bridesmaid, not a bride. I don't think he's ever going to be the main man. But he's a wonderful number 2. He's the Scottie Pippen to Jordan. It's not a negative. You're still a very, very good player.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I know you said that, and you might be right. I just don't know. I don't think we will know until he does it for 3 months.
Hopefully we don't have to find out in the next 2 years, Tim. Hopefully you can just stand on.
Hopefully we'll find out in 4 years, and by then he will be a more mature guy anyway.
Exactly.
Are you watching international games? I'm kind of following. Nothing.
No, I didn't even know playing.
Doing a soccer Ramadan for yourself.
I love international breaks. I love switching off. I love spending time with the family and taking them out, kind of thing. I spend time with the kids tomorrow and don't watch any football because I also know as well when we come back, I'm just going to be in the most intense, stressful period of my life watching that same midfield try and run in football matches.
I don't know. I think they're gonna.
Gravenberch is injured. Konate got injured. Alisson's got concussion. I'm just looking, going, please stop.
Well, Calafiori got injured too, and honestly, his looked the worst. So
I mean, Arsenal's not about business, are they? It's just Liverpool. I want Liverpool.
I mean, let's just win a couple of. You're just more worried because it's Everton game coming up than anything else.
I don't want to think about the Everton game on my international break. Thank you very much. Come back to me next Friday.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch Turkey play again on Sunday. But I mean, I've been watching it normally. Like I'll watch the games today as I work, but I'm not gonna over the weekend. I doubt it. Aside from Turkey, I think they play on Sunday and stuff like that. But and I get to scout Szoboszlai, who looked exactly the same, by the way.
Yeah.
But honestly, he had so many good one-touch passes to people that went to waste. So it felt like some of it was he looked worse because of the supporting cast as opposed to what he did against Turkey. And with Karkas, like I said, he put a couple of those balls, but Turkey did really overload his side and did not let him get out. They had this side overloaded where he had to stay back and defend all the freaking time. So that was something that looked like they wanted to keep him back there. But whenever he goes up, man, that ball that he puts in, it's like a young Robertson all over again. But here's the thing, once again, we don't know if that's what Slot wants.
But also if you're a scout, you want to see him defend. So that's a good thing as well. If you're a scout, you can what can he do when he's doubled up? Do you know what I mean? Does he get run all over, or does he hang himself up? So you're telling me.
And I'll be honest, he was a little all over the place because he has a little bit of Trent in him.
Okay.
Where he wants to get it and get going. And so, you know what I mean? He doesn't have that defensive patience. And he's a young kid, so that could be part of it. But he doesn't have that defensive patience on. Yeah. He was like, let's win it real quick so we can attack, kind of a deal going. And I think he got exploited yesterday.
Wait till he's got Virgil van Dijk 12 feet away from him. Where the hell are you going? Stand there. Hey, you're not the main man around here, fella. Stand there. Okay.
Well, we'll call it for today. Good thing we didn't have topics. We went even like over an hour over here. We were like, man, there are no headlines. But yeah, so quiet weekend. Enjoy the weekend. No watch alongs. Nothing going on this weekend. We do have some stuff coming out, so I'll get to work on that. Like a separate YouTube channel, along with some more programming for like the American Scouser side of things. We got a couple of new writers for the website, so things are happening as we wrap up the season. But have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the peace and quiet, because it will be back in a hurry over here. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.